Hello, 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 folks. Oh my goodness, we are back again on our Best American Psychics Love and Relationships Round Table. So, I want to thank you guys if you're just tuning in for the first time. Super excited to have you here. And basically, what we're doing is bestamericanpsychics.com is an internet directory. We're selling. We are celebrating our 10-year anniversary. So, with that said, with the anniversary, what we are doing is we're offering a free kind of presentation to the public out there. And we have gathered our group of experts. Well, some of our experts. We couldn't fit them all on here, but we've gathered some of our experts together from bestamericanpsychics.com to cover different relationships and key points about love and relationships. So, one of those particular experts is no stranger to this screen, and she's certainly no stranger to helping folks out all across the world with overcoming the hurdles either in their life or in their relationships. So we're going to go ahead and bring her onto the show here today. Tiffany Powers, welcome. We're going to be talking about letting go today. So
yay.
Welcome. Yeah.
I'm so happy. This is a great topic, and this month in February, it's focused a lot on like manifesting your soulmate and romance and love. But I also think that the beauty of this month could be maybe looking at things that you might need to release, or, like with your relationship, or are you even happy in your current situation or relationship, and kind of going within, because a lot of people stay in toxic relationships because they're afraid, that maybe their soulmate's not out there, or they're comfortable, or, there's just usually some kind of fear that's going on. And then it's like keeping them stuck in these relationships. And, and that can be really hard when you're in an unfulfilling relationship. It just feels almost like your gas tank is getting, becoming like empty, and you're just not feeling light about it. You might be like arguing with your partner, or just not feeling, satisfied in different ways. And it's so important that in your relationship that there's an energy where the two people in that relationship are feeling satisfied, happy, full, energetically, and just that, you're not always going to be in love, have that in love feeling forever, but there still needs to be love and positive energy between two people, and communication.
Yeah, and I think that's an important thing. You're not always going to feel that in love sensation throughout. Some people are together 50, 60 years, and it's, sometimes you look at them and you're like, oh, how did they do that when they're putting up with that person day in, day out? Not just putting up, but let's face it, we all have our idiosyncrasies that drive other people crazy. So yeah. This is a great topic. I'm super excited about it because the other segments that we're doing, we're focusing on, attraction and cord cutting and stuff like this, but letting go is a huge component of relationships, because what we see a lot of times are these hanger-oners, and I know that's not proper dialect, but in effect, you bring baggage from an old relationship into a new relationship, and then when that happens, you kind of have an uphill battle there, because you're punishing that person, or potentially punishing them for something that they're not even aware of. And secondly, if you're still clinging so much to something, then chances are you can't put good, clean energy into something else. So letting go, I think, it's a great topic. So
yes, I agree with you. And it's good to work on, everybody has baggage, everybody has suitcases, and it's all about, recognizing that you have that, and if you do, it's okay. And then going into what that is, and just doing energy work or healing work or coaching or something to just get that out of your system, because you don't want to have that with you harming your relationships or sabotaging your relationships. Or, a good example of that is in the past, if you were in a relationship where your partner cheated on you, and then you kind of bring that fear with you. And then it's like, even if you're in a great relationship with someone, you're still kind of like projecting that, oh, they're going to cheat on you, they're going to cheat on you, and then you might be insecure, or you might feel
Sure.
scared, like they go out, with their friends, you might feel worried about that because of your past. And it's important to heal that, because that person may not be cheating on you. They could be totally faithful and they could be amazing. And if you bring your luggage and you project that out in the trauma and drama that you've had from your past, it could really affect and ruin a really amazing relationship with someone. And it's not fair to that other person.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about how do these suitcases get packed, essentially? I mean, where do the toxic patterns originate?
So when I'm working with my clients, I do a lot of work with relationship stuff. It's the most common type of coaching, healing work that I do, besides business and money stuff and intuitive stuff. But I believe that these suitcases start where there's some kind of like trauma that occurs. And usually what I've noticed with all these clients I've worked with is that it's coming from something from their childhood or something they grew up with. So for example, if they saw like a loveless marriage and maybe a parent was like a narcissist, and then they had like trauma from that situation growing up, then it's very possible that they could recreate that over and over again. So they could therefore attract narcissistic partners and mates. Or if they saw their mom and dad, maybe the mother cheated, and that was something they developed like a trauma from that, then what will happen is they will like recreate that energy and constantly like be with someone who is like cheating on them or having affairs or things like that. So it's, if you go back to that original suitcase or like trauma thing and you can heal that, then what's going to happen is you energetically are no longer going to draw in those other experiences that you've been drawing in, because each person we're with is meant to come in to help us to heal. And there could be some karmic things, like maybe you were karmically meant to experience that with your family, and then you're karmically meant to have that with your mates. So, there can be a variety of things, but that's like the most common thing. So when I'm working with people, it's like we need to go in and heal those things. And once we do, all these other things can release, and those suitcases or whatever can be let go of.
Yeah. And that's the biggest thing. Again, our topic, letting go. So what would you say? I mean, are there any, and again, let me just tell everybody really quickly, Tiffany does this for a living. She helps people heal, so to speak, and move forward to the next phase. And that includes, mind, body, and spirit. So her link is right here in the comments. And I do encourage you guys, if you're listening to this today and there's something that you're really struggling with letting go, I highly encourage you to book a private session with Tiffany. Her links are going to be here. Also, be sure to check the comments there's some informational links that we're going to be putting up here. Well, actually, they're already there. That I would encourage you guys to check out as well for additional information on this topic. So I just want to give some info on that. Now, okay, so we know we've got to kind of check out where the toxic patterns originate, but what are the red flags that you advise your clients to kind of look out for?
So, well, everybody red flags are things that make you uncomfortable. They might just make you feel anxious with a person. They might make you question things. It could be like if somebody's drinking too much, or somebody's like, they're secretive with their phone, or, you notice that they're being dishonest with you. I mean, there could be a variety of things, because we're all going to be different and we're all going to react to different things. And basically, if you bring up something like this in your relationship and you're like, hey, or dating somebody, and you're saying, hey, I'm a little bit uncomfortable like with your drinking and it seems like a lot. If that person is unwilling to accept it, unwilling to even look at it and say, oh yeah, you're right, and they just keep doing what they're doing, that would be a huge red flag, because you would end up in a situation that could be very disturbing to you or toxic to you. And with people that are intuitive or empaths, which are probably a lot of people watching this are very empathic.
Sure.
We tend to, even if we see a red flag, we tend to think, oh, but no, I'm just seeing something different. I feel that they could be, we always see the best in people, as these empaths, and we want to think that like everybody could be an amazing person, and they can be, but it's also their choice if they want to step into that energy. And not everybody wants to choose to step into that greatest self. So, you know, it's just being feeling comfortable and safe with talking about what the red flag is. And then if that person is willing to work through that with you, then they could be a great person. But if they're not, then that could be a sign that, yikes, this is toxic. And if you continue down this road, it's going to be a very toxic relationship for you.
Yeah, yeah. And that happens so often. I mean, you know, a problem comes up, especially early in a relationship. And then it's sort of like you're in that new phase, and you're like, oh, but I don't want to be nitpicky. You know, this really bothers me, but I don't really want to say too much about it because I don't want them thinking that I'm, you know, and it's a real psychological sort of, you know, merry-go-round in essence that you can get caught in. So looking out for those red flags and confronting them, I totally agree, even though it's hard, you know, sometimes by noticing the red flags early in a relationship and you know, I hate to say confronting them, but addressing them is, I think, a really good plan, because chances are if they're going to show you that nasty stuff very early on, it's going to get way worse. You know?
Yeah. And you can be hopeful. And, you know, I understand that. Like, I'm hopeful about, you know, everyone in my life. I always want the best for everyone, but you have to think about like what's occurring at the present moment versus your hopes and dreams. And, you know, and it just really, it comes down to loving yourself, honoring yourself, and knowing that you are good enough, that you're lovable, and trusting the universe, trusting the divine, whatever you want to call it, that you'll be taken care of no matter what. And maybe it may not work out with so-and-so that you really liked originally, but can you, you know, are you trusting the universe that somebody else that may be higher and better can come in for you?
Yeah. And, you know, you and I were talking a little bit before the show, and I know one of the points that you had brought up was checking the energy of your relationship. So I think that's a really good point. And if you could elaborate a little bit on that, that'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Checking the energy of your relationship. So what I do is when I'm in a romantic relationship, I can close my eyes, I connect with the energy of it, and I see how it's feeling to me, to my body. Our body is a great barometer of what feels good and what doesn't. It's like when I connect with my partner, am I feeling uplifted? Am I feeling supported? Does my body feel joyful? Do I have ease? Or when I connect with the energy of my partner, my relationship, do I have anxiety? Do I feel sad? Do I feel lonely? Like I'm not even in a relationship? Do I feel brought down or sick sick to my stomach? And if your body is not having a positive reaction to your relationship when you meditate on it, it could mean that maybe there's some healing needed in it, or it could mean you have a red flag or there's a lot of issues. And it's really important for you to honor yourself and listen to yourself and not doubt yourself. And if you are, then it can help you so much, and it can prevent so many things from happening if you just listen to what you're feeling and what your body is telling you.
Yeah. Now let's talk about that, your body, because, you know, obviously things that are affecting you emotionally, spiritually, mentally certainly play out. I mean, you've got this whole field within you of potential, you know, explosions, if you will. So I know that you do this for a living. You are a health coach as well. And let's talk a little bit about how, you know, negativity or a toxic relationship, and this doesn't have to be, you know, your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your husband or your wife. I'm talking any relationship. I mean, it could be your coworkers, your boss, your next door neighbor, you know, whomever. How you know, toxicity in a relationship can affect you physically.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I would love to share like a personal example. So for me, you know, I was in a very toxic marriage where there was not love and abusive and just very harmful to my mind, body, spirit. And during that period, I was literally the sickest I've ever been in my life, and also the heaviest I've ever been in my life weight-wise. And I couldn't, it was just shocking to me that I would, because I've been doing healing work now for about, I think it's been like 9 years, like this year. So I've, been consistently working on stuff, but to have that come up in my marriage and to be physically ill, and have chronic fatigue, and I had Epstein-Barr virus. And what ended up happening was when I started getting into what are the core issues, where is this coming from? And it was all connected to the toxicity and negativity that I was experiencing in my loveless marriage. And when I started working through that and healing things in myself and self-love and just releasing that from my body, that was a huge part of me getting better. And when I did that, I started to get better. It was fascinating. And also, I had gained a lot of weight. I was really obese, and I think that the energy was so dark and negative that I was literally trying to protect my body with layers of fat because I was so sad, and I was literally getting attacked verbally constantly, and my soul was in my heart. So it's like subconsciously I'm thinking, how can I protect myself? Well, let me gain weight. This will help me. This will keep him away from me. And again, once I decided to, let that go, release that, release the negative energy, my body listened as well. And it started just shedding the weight and releasing it. And it was just amazing how those things occurred. So I definitely 100% believe that if you're in toxic relationships or parasitic relationships where people are draining you, that it can totally affect your body. It can affect everything, but definitely it can affect your body. And if you're willing to look at your relationships, whether it's a friendship, a romantic relationship, whatever this is, if it's affecting you in that way, it's good to release that and heal that and go within and not to be scared to do that.
Yeah. So how do you, if you've got people out there listening to this they're in that, they're in that quicksand and they're like, oh my God, I'm miserable. I've done the self-checking. I know this isn't really working for me, but how am I going to make this change? Like, I'm sure we've got wives out there that are financially dependent upon their husbands, maybe they've got kids, it's we can sit here and talk about it, and it's great to do that, but sometimes it might seem to some people out there to be impossible, to do it. And well, I don't know, I don't want to speak for were you a parent when all this happened, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So, here you were very much probably in that situation of, well, what am I going to do? I've got a child. I've got, so what advice would you give to folks out there that are facing that?
Oh yeah, and this what you're talking about is something that I work with clients all the time, and it's women who are financially dependent on their spouse. They're in a loveless marriage, or they might feel that they have to stay together for the kids. Right. So that's a really common belief system, and I respect all belief systems for sure, but there's a lot of belief systems where even though people are not happy, they still stay for the kids, and they have a lot of guilt about that, or women are concerned or worried that they cannot support their children, so they'll stay in that marriage, because of that, or their partner may have threatened them and said, if you ever divorce me, I'll make sure that you don't get the kids, or, it's just things like that. And these are real things that I literally talk about every day with people. And I was in that situation too. So if you're in a situation where you realize you're not happy, but you're financially dependent on the person you're with, that first part that we're talking about, one of the things that I recommend is for my clients to do healing work and subconscious belief programming on money blocks that they have, fears that they have. That's when I do my energy work with clients, and I go in and I work with subconscious, release all that stuff. But another thing that anybody can do is go into meditation and just sit quietly, close your eyes, and ask a question out to the universe or your guides or the divine, and just say, what can I do to make money right away? Just ask that question. Or in meditation, asking, what can I do to get out of my situation with grace and ease? And then go into meditation. And when meditation is for receiving information. So when you go into meditation, you can ask these questions, and I literally always have paper with me. I'm in meditation a lot during the day because that's how I like to receive my info. And you can ask those questions, and your guides, your angels, the team of beings of light that works with you, they'll give you ideas. They'll say, hey, you might go ding, ding, ding. I had one, this is one of my clients today. She got a download that she's supposed to go into real estate.
Oh,
and
wow, yeah.
I've gotten that before, but she was open to it. She received it. And she's like, yeah, like, this is cool. Like, this sounds amazing to me. So the team of beings of light are here to work with you, and you are not alone. And that's exactly what I did. I went into meditation and I asked that question, what can I do to make money right away? What can I do to leave my situation with grace and ease? And the messages that I got were, okay, Tiffany, you need to go into this keto coaching. We need to grow your intuitive healing business. This is the plan. And I got that direct information, and then I took action steps and acted on it. And then it's just like the universe responded and everything responded. And then within a couple of years, I grew my business 158.3% just in 2 years, just by asking that question.
Wow. Well, not just by, I'm going to argue with you there. You did the work too.
I did a lot of work.
Yeah.
I did a lot of healing work. Yes, I do a lot on myself.
Yeah, because the whole thing is we get these people, and I've done radio for years. We have people call in, they ask for, free advice. They write us all the time on Best American Psychics and say, well, when am I going to get this? Or how am I going to get this? Or how, and it's like, look, we can give you a guideline, but if you're not willing, listen, Prince Charming, chances is not going to come knock on your door. And you do have to sort of put yourself out there too and do the work on your own, which I know you've done a tremendous amount of work. So I do want to add a little caveat to all of our discussions here on the roundtable, guys, is, these professionals are here to give you the sort of, map, if you will, but you ultimately have to get in that car and drive it. It's, you've got to be willing to put the work in. So,
oh yeah,
yeah, absolutely.
I love it. And I want to say that, yes, I believe that getting to a space where you're successful with love and relationships and everything else in your life, hiring a mentor is really important, and somebody that has done the work, understands it, and can identify things with you, can be honest with you, you trust them, they trust you. It's a great relationship. And they can help you to get to the next level. And I've always had mentors and people that help me for various things, whether it's love or business or things like that. And I believe that it helps things kind of go faster instead of you trying to do everything by yourself and figure it out, or I'll just do it. That might take a long time.
Yeah.
But if you hire a mentor that understands and knows, like, okay, I'm identifying this block with you. Let's just do some energy work. Let's clear this. Let's talk about it. Let's, get through this. You can actually work through things a lot faster, and you won't be stuck in your rut for like years. Maybe it's 6 months instead of like 4 years, if that makes sense.
Oh, total sense. Look at every accomplished, it doesn't matter. Sports people have coaches, musicians, voice coaches. Everybody, even if you have the natural ability, having a coach is proven millions of times over in this world to accelerate. There's people that are in the Olympics. They didn't do it without coaches. The people that are, and it doesn't even have to be as big as the Olympics, but just, the simplest of things. God, training a dog. Why do we all take our dogs to dog training class? Is because even though I can teach my dog to sit, there's other things that, that you can learn even from others. So it's a very good point, and it makes a tremendous amount of sense. And again, folks, Tiffany does do all of this. So if you've got your hand up out there and you're looking for help, click on her link and just today say yes. Start that process, because you're not going to get anywhere. Well, you could, but it'll be a lot easier if you do have some help with that. So Tiffany, okay, we've kind of talked a little bit about the letting go portion of it. We've talked about the toxic patterns and where they kind of start up in our lives, looking out for red flags. We've talked about doing a real honest check-in with the energy of your relationship, which I think is super important, because, instead of just living day in, day out, like la, 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 and almost living a facade, you really do have to sit down with yourself in quiet time and say, what the heck am I doing here? Like take a look at it, Now let's talk about, we've been talking a lot about how to love someone else, or how to, let go of someone else. But let's take it back to us. What about ourselves? What about that relationship with ourselves? How to love ourselves, even how to let part of ourselves go if necessary. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's great. So when you love yourself, you have healthy boundaries. You have a life where you're happy because you feel good about you, and having the energy of love in your body. It's just such a, high vibrational energy. And you can, if you're in a room and there's somebody that's not confident or feels bad about themselves versus a person that loves themselves and is confident, it's just such a difference. And the person that loves themselves is going to be more vibrant and more confident and just way, way different. And again, it would be, if you are that person that's not confident, not loving yourself, it would be going back and identifying why you don't. What is the situation that may have occurred that made you decide that you couldn't love yourself? Was it that you got abused by someone? Was it that you felt like you failed something? Was it did you feel like you let somebody down? There's always one reason why. There's a core thing. There's tons of little things, but there's always that core thing of why. And it could be any of those things that I mentioned just now. And if you can figure out what that is, again, and just doing energy work, healing work, coaching, releasing whatever that core thing is, and then literally reprogramming yourself to love. And it could be literally where I do meditations with myself where I'll just sit there and I close my eyes and I just send unconditional love to every cell in my body, to all my chakras. And I just send this pink light to myself. And that's one of the things I like to do for self-love. The other thing is that if I'm being critical or hard on myself, I will let that go, because it's not good to, if you're being critical and hard on yourself, you're literally sending yourself psychic attacks. And also if you're judging yourself, if you're like, oh, you're not good enough, or you suck at this or whatever, it's literally sending yourself psychic attacks, like boom, boom, boom. It doesn't raise your energy up. It's definitely something that's bringing you down. So working to eliminate those things and being aware of things with yourself, but not where you're beating yourself up or, attacking yourself. And, being positive to yourself. Affirmations are really good. I am beautiful. I am kind. I'm a good person. I honor myself. However you want to do these affirmations. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to download affirmations into my body. So what that means, a download is that's kind of the healing work that I do. But basically it's just like a computer, like downloading a program into a computer. But it would basically be where you're setting an intention that an affirmation that you're saying, I am beautiful, for example, is being put into your body on every level and into your subconscious. And it's just literally going through your body. And what will happen is, even if you don't think you're beautiful, if you say it enough, set an intention, it's being downloaded, it will become a part of you. And maybe a week later, you're like, I do feel beautiful, or I do realize I'm a good person. And it will become part of your body and your psyche.
Yeah. And it's true, because that mantra that we tell ourselves, even if it's subconsciously on a regular basis, can have, just like we were talking about before, it can have an effect on everything, mind, body, spirit, your outward perception of life. We all know those Eeyores out there who, everything's a rainy day, or, they see the negativity in every situation. I mean, it could be birds chirping, blue skies, Snow White's out there singing and whistling, and they're like, they find some negative snide thing to say about everything. And that, I think if a lot of people out there actually listened to themselves, or had a reflection of what they say, how they act, and had to visualize that, it would be really shocking to them. And you see it every day. I mean, in the grocery store, and just some people are amazingly warm and friendly, and just, you just want to hug them. And then other people are like, oh, stay away from them.
And energy that's kind of heavy. Yeah. And if you have we all have negative thoughts and critical thoughts, but I encourage you to, like, I like to say cancel, 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 or I'll just say, no, I'm not having that in my reality now. I'm choosing something different, you know, and just being mindful of what you're thinking. And yeah, you could even, if you want to see like how you are thinking about yourself, you could put like a jar in your house or a glass or something, and you could put a piece of paper in there every time that you're thinking something positive about yourself. Like if you have a day where you're home, and you could, is it filling up or is it pretty low? And you could have another one for negative thoughts, and just, you could see where you're at just even by doing that, and just being mindful of, you know, what you're thinking about yourself or even saying.
Yeah, and you know, I think for a lot of people too, it's not something that you do on a conscious, like I can honestly say throughout my day, I mean, I'm so focused on everything else, like, you know, the tasks that need to be done, the this, the that, you know, I don't probably go into a quiet space and think about what am I thinking? What am I wanting? What are my, you know, I don't even really do that. I mean, unless I'm like hungry or something, I'm like, oh, I gotta find some food real quick, and you know, kind of shovel it down. But I mean, I can honestly sit here and say, like, I was listening to you talk, and I'm like, I don't even sit there and like think things about myself. As a general rule, I mean, I've got so many other things going on, and you know, that's a really good point, is that self-reflection, and remembering to check in. So I'm glad you said that, because you know, that's something I can totally work on, because you know, I'm sure I need to. So,
like, self-love is nurturing yourself, your mind, body, and soul. That's another part of it. And yeah, for me, something that really helps me a lot is every morning I do like a little meditation. It doesn't have to be the Om or anything like that. It could just be like music or just sitting in silence. I like to do it with my coffee, and I just do my meditation. And I just check in, and I'm like, okay, what's going on with you? You know, what would bring you joy today? What would make you feel good today? You know, or things like that. Or I might, you know, meditate about, okay, you've got these clients today. Is there any information that's coming in to help these people? So it'll be a little bit about me, and then it'll be a little bit about other people. And it's really effective and helpful. And you just want to make sure, like, yeah, we're all busy, but you don't want to forget about yourself. Because it's like, you are important, and yeah, and you deserve that time for you.
Yeah. Now so with the self-reflection, okay, so I'm just creating a scenario here in my mind. If you're in a relationship, and you know, let's say it maybe isn't the most positive of relationships, and you're checking in with yourself, you're figuring this out. What are the, I guess, guidelines, or guidelines isn't the word. What are the boundaries for how much you're checking into someone else, like the person that you're with? You know, you can voice what you need to say. You can voice how you feel. But at what point should you just sort of back off and say, hey, you know, there's nothing more I can do about this. You know, in other words, we all have to get to a point, if we're in a negative relationship and we see that it is not going anywhere, that we have to sort of say DOA, you know, call it. So, yeah. What is your advice on that? Because, you know, there is another school of thought here where it's like, okay, work it out, state it, you know, so it's this balance of when to let go and when to keep on hanging on, you know?
Well, yeah, and the way that I work with people too, it's you know, I believe that if, you know, you've addressed something multiple times, that whatever that thing that has been addressed is not improving. For example, cheating is a really big one that I work with people on, and their husbands or wives having affairs. So, you know, it's like, okay, let's just say that you've addressed cheating with your mate, but they continue to cheat over and over again. You found more stuff in their phone. You've talked about it like 6 or 7 times. It's not getting better. You might have said, hey, do you mind if we work with a marital counselor or a coach or healer? And they're like, no, I don't want to do it. So, you know, that would be a situation where it's like, oh, you know, that's very toxic. That person is not, working with you. They're basically very self-absorbed, and they only really care about themselves and their own needs, and they're not caring about you. So that would be, definitely a situation, or like addiction issues and, things like that. If you've given someone all these different opportunities, if you've said, hey, this is a good person you could talk to, if you said, this makes me uncomfortable, I don't feel safe when you do this, and they continue to do that, then they're not, they're not respecting you, and they're not loving you. It's not love. If somebody unconditionally loves you, they're going to want to make you feel safe, comfortable, nurtured, and they're going to ask you, hey, is there anything I can do for you? And they're going to care about your needs and be there for you. And a lot of us healer people end up in relationships where we're healing people, and we're in relationships where, to be in that space, you have to acknowledge that they're not choosing that, and you really have to do what's best for you at that point.
Yeah. And that is one of the hardest steps, I think, for people to take, particularly if you've been in a long-term thing, and then you're just sort of like, oh my gosh, like this is my whole life. We're so entangled and entwined, and how do you kind of pull that apart without, this big mess? So, it's and there are, like you've been talking about here, there are so many steps and phases to this. It's not like it's all going to just instantaneously, happen at once. But I think the, I like the questions that you ask, the, the self-affirming questions that you ask. And in particularly, if you direct those at someone else and say, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Instead of yelling and screaming about it and everything, I do think keeping the lines of communication open is critically important. In any relationship. But there is a point where sometimes, just for your own health and well-being, it is best to just part like that Red Sea,
And a lot of us people that are very sensitive, like highly sensitive people, or intuitive people, or healers, or empathic people, we definitely need partners that are willing, we're always kind of shifting to other levels, and we need someone that's going to grow and shift with us energetically.
Yes.
Evolve. Yeah. An evolved person, but an evolving person. They're constantly growing and evolving. I love change. So it's like, for me, it's like I need to be with someone that will be okay with that shift and that energy, and to rise up with me. And a lot of healer people need that too, or intuitive people, or empaths, because if not, it's like you're just walking around with this dead weight. I'm, walking with this huge dead weight, and
the albatross around your neck. It keeps sinking you.
It is. Yeah. So I agree. It is really hard. It is hard when you're in that situation. And you talked about identity, and I really believe that it is so. This is something I work on all the time with people. It is so crucial for all of us to have our own identity, even if we're in a relationship. You still need to maintain who you are and your identity. And one of the things is that people tend to get lost and like lose their identity in a relationship. And then when the relationship ends, it's like total trauma, just they've lost everything. They don't know who they are anymore. But it's important to know who you are. And that's where the self-love comes in, working on yourself. What do I like to do? What do I enjoy? Who am I? What is my life purpose? And, why am I here on this planet? And just, working on that, maintaining your own set of friends, maintaining things that you enjoy, activities, whatever that is. But you never want to lose your sense of self or your identity in another person, because if that relationship didn't work out, it could definitely be devastating to you. And my clients that have their own identities are way happier in their relationships versus my clients that don't.
Sure. That makes total sense, because, we were talking about this on another show. I think it was with Kathy Beal. It was basically, you've got to build the foundation before you can build anything else. And if you're not happy with yourself and you're not whole, not going too far with that one. So, Well, let's go back a little bit to what you said about the people that are caretakers and they are, perhaps intuitives or empaths. I agree with you. I think we're probably going to get a lot of those types of folks watching here with us right now. You know, I find with caretakers, saying no to things that maybe aren't right for you, but you're trying to be that people pleaser and that caretaker and that one who is always there to answer, everybody's needs and everybody's wants and keep the peace and keep everybody happy and juggle all these hats. So, for those moments where those people need to kind of take their power back and say, you know what? No, I'm not, that's it. I'm not doing this. You take care of yourself. You make your own dinner. You do your own, whatever. You figure it out. You're a grown up. Let's talk a little bit about that because I know that is a real struggle for some, and we've all seen it and we've probably been guilty of it ourselves. So.
Oh yeah, I'm guilty. You caught me.
Yeah. Well, ditto. Saying no to what isn't right for you. So let's chat about that a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, and definitely having boundaries and saying no is challenging for people that are empathic, intuitive, healer people, because we're so full of love, we're so full of light. We just want to share. We enjoy being helpful, and we enjoy doing things, and we enjoy like healing our partners. We enjoy helping our families. We enjoy all of that. Like it's just something that our hearts love, and we just resonate with that. But if you feel like you're sacrificing yourself or your own wants, dreams, desires, that is totally not good or healthy. And a recommendation, when I work with a lot of families, like when I'm doing like this kind of like relationship coaching or, husband and wife stuff, but what I recommend to my clients is that they don't work on their husband. They don't coach their husband. They don't, they don't do like maybe they're a healer, but they're not doing healing work on their husband. Right. I feel like if you have like a boundary with that and you're like, babe, love you, but I'm not going to work on you. Like when I'm in relationships, I will just send the people I'm with to someone that I trust. And I'll let them have their own sacred space with that person. And it's like, I'm still nurturing and caring for them, but I'm having that boundary where I'm not personally taking that on. Because that's what a lot of us do. We tend to like take on other people's issues, problems, situations, their stuff, like it's ours. But when we do that, we're actually disempowering the other person. If we let them take on their own stuff, we're saying, hey, I believe in you, that you are powerful enough, smart enough to do this yourself. And if you let somebody do that and they grow, then they're going to really step into their power. So sometimes this caregiving thing can actually be disempowering for the other person. Exactly.
Because you're not really, if you constantly drive the car, they're never going to learn how to drive. It's kind of, it's like, hey, I'm not your chauffeur. Here's the keys. I've shown you what I can, good luck. So, and if they crash, they crash. It's a really hard, that letting go, especially if you are a caretaker type, and you feel responsible for those around you, setting those boundaries and saying no it's a very, very, very difficult thing to do. But that's why I was asking you before, like when you're checking in, how much should you sort of check in on the other person? Because just like what you were saying, you've got to set a mental boundary with yourself there. Like, hey, I am not responsible for fixing them. I'm not responsible for their life. I'm not responsible for, if you're in a partnership to a degree, yeah, but not, wholeheartedly. So,
that's a good question. Yeah. Well, and I would say that this comes up a lot, especially for me, because I'm like the caregiver, the nurturer. I'm always trying, and I made a rule. I'm like, no, if my partners have to work with somebody else, I'm not doing healing work on them. But what I do is, so I like to check in often, or if I feel that things are funky, I'm definitely checking in. But I might mention to them and say, this is a little bit funky, or it's making me uncomfortable, you might want to talk with this, or talk about this with your whatever coach or something like this to benefit you. Because as you know, intuitives or healers or empathic people, we kind of know what everyone needs to work on in a way. Like we can kind of sense, you know, what people's blocks are on some level. We can kind of see it or feel it. A lot of us can. So that's just kind of how I've handled it or dealt with it. Because yeah, you don't want to be like also driving someone insane. Like, you know, like you need to work on this. You need
that nag.
Yeah. And I believe also that when you're healing yourself, that you're healing your mate as well. So every time that you work on yourself energetically, that they can heal as well, even without being they weren't in the healing session, maybe they weren't around, maybe they were in the coaching session. But you know, I like to set an intention whenever I work on myself that my partner is healing, and I just set that intention. And there will be times when maybe there was an issue that came up, and I've just set that intention, and the issue goes away after I did my session and worked on myself. So it's pretty interesting, but a lot can be done with intention as well.
Yeah, and I think this ties into red flags too, because you know, it would, I mean, just logically thinking this through, if you are doing the healing work on yourself, and the natural thought process behind that would be that hopefully your partner would be able to gain some healing from that as well. But if they go the opposite direction and become actually worse, or antagonistic, or, oh, you think you're so good because you're, you know, like whatever, you know, that's a huge red flag too, that, you know, they're actually criticizing you for doing the work. So that's something I think that people need to really be aware of too, you know.
You're the person you're with should want you to be your best self, and accept you as you are, all parts of you, the good, the bad, the ugly, but also just hold space and support for you to be your best self. And because a lot of times when you're doing healing work or coaching, people step into their best selves, and it's pretty phenomenal to watch. And sometimes there is a reaction that is not positive from their mates or the people around them. And what's happening is the people around them are feeling triggered and insecure, and it's bringing up stuff for themselves. Like they, you know, it's like, oh my God, you know, this person's stepping into, like, she's stepping into her highest self. You know, I'm feeling less than, I'm feeling unworthy. So they might lash out at you because they're feeling triggered by you, or they might feel like they're unworthy of you, or feel very insecure. But it's important to not, you know, take that on. If you feel really good about what you're doing, if you enjoy being in your best self, if you enjoy being in your power, if you are happy, you know, those are really important things. And it's important to also not let your partner take that away from you ever. Someone who loves you is going to love you like that, and they're going to embrace you and not feel scared, intimidated, or sad. They'll be like, wow, you know, I love this within him or her.
Yeah, or jealous. Jealousy's a big one too.
Yeah, jealousy. Thank you. Yes, if your partner's jealous of you, it's probably not a very healthy thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So I mean, you know, there's a lot to the letting go. We've got about, I think about 12 minutes left in this particular segment. And just to recap out there to the folks that are listening, we've been talking about letting go. If you're in a toxic relationship and you know that you need to take the steps, just a quick review, you know, where do the toxic patterns originate? What are the red flags? You got to check into the relationship. I mean, the energy that is surrounding your relationship. Learn how to love yourself, because you've got to kind of reacquaint there. Because if you don't love yourself, chances are you're not really going to be able to love somebody else very well. And then, of course, saying no to what is not right for you, which is a very difficult step. Now, with the remaining time that we have left, Tiffany, I would like to ask you, what does it look like? Like when a client comes to you, and let's say they're in this, in one of these states where they know they've got to kind of make some major changes. Maybe they're not feeling good about themselves physically or emotionally, or all of the above. What what is it? I know you've touched on kind of what you do in your sessions and everything, but let's just say clean slate. Somebody calls you up or goes through your website and says, okay, I need help. So what does that look like, sort of from soup to nuts? Like, how do you take them through that?
Yeah. So for me, I believe in very nurturing, loving work, but very honest work. Very supportive, because I believe that when people feel loved, nurtured, that they're being listened to and supported as well, that they're going to make the most changes. And that they're going to make those changes quickly. Because I like to help people to not be stuck in those ruts for years. It's like, okay, are you comfortable with changing some of this stuff pretty fast? And they're like, okay, yeah, why not? You know, so we just, basically I will meet with them, I will talk to them, I'll ask them, you know, what they want to work on, or what, you know, what the topic might be. And if it's something like this, like a relationship issue, I like to work with people over time. And a lot of my clients I work with, it's on a weekly basis. So we're allotted like an hour a week or 90 minutes, and then we'll work on certain things, or I will kind of work on these topics like in group classes that I teach, because I do like group, I'm actually teaching a soulmate class right now where we're working on energy blocks with love. So I'll like, you know, address it as a group or one-on-one. And what I do is I let them like share their history. We talk about things, and then I will use my intuition and intuitively tap in and just kind of read their patterns, kind of read their energy and see like where this originally came from, what the blocks are. I will write things down and do a lot of automatic writing. And then I'll get more information on the person, the situation, and then I just start doing the belief reprogramming work with them, you know, releasing fears, releasing where this came from, going back to the original source of trauma. Sometimes it's past life stuff, so we do past life. Sometimes it's, you know, family stuff, we do that. Sometimes it's this life, you know, we just kind of go wherever it needs to go. And I'm very guided by intuition. And then I give people practical steps on, okay, you know, we worked on this today. So your action step is to meditate and send yourself love, you know, every single day for a week, you know, or, you know, we did this today, but your action step is I want you to meditate and ask, you know, what is my life purpose? What am I meant to do here? How can I make money right away? So I'll just basically do intuitive work, healing work, and then I will have them do something action related and get them moving. And, you know, you just want to keep your energy moving. If you're stuck, do something to move out of that, whatever that might be. But that's just how I work with clients. And I usually do things, like I said, over time, because you can't, if somebody comes with all this stuff in a relationship, you can do a lot in like an hour or 90 minutes, but it's not going to get you, you know, you need consistent work. And then once you're done with your work, you're done with your work and you're good, you know, and I really believe that it's the work, the healing work and the coaching work. I believe that it's every time that you do that, it's really an initiation to a higher vibrational level. So each time you do that, you're going up higher and higher and higher. And as you get into that space, we're getting in the space of unconditional love. We're getting in that really high vibe energy. So it's all about me working with clients to get them into that space where they're feeling happy in their lives, more joyful, that they have a mate that they really adore, that it's a very healthy relationship. And that's how I like to approach things with my clients.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, I mean, that's a comprehensive,
yes,
you know, sort of journey for them, because, yeah, I think with people that have never sort of experienced maybe the more, you know, metaphysical or esoteric work before, that might be listening to this, do you give them tips and stuff on, like, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but even how to meditate, like, you know, you teach them that stuff? Yeah.
I teach them everything. And I love the newbies. Like, you know, as long as somebody's, you know, as long as anybody is open, I can work with them. The openness is the biggest thing. If somebody's not open, it probably won't work for them because they're shut down energetically and they won't accept it. But if they've never done it, but they're curious and they're open and they have no idea what energy work is, it's actually really fun, because they're like, oh, I'm feeling this, or, oh my God, my life totally changed. I met my soulmate. And you know, it's so amazing, because it actually helps them to become more spiritual. And then they're like, holy crap, this is cool. You know, so it's a really cool thing. But yeah, as long as somebody's open. But yeah, I can teach people, like I like to teach people how to meditate, how to connect. I always start my sessions with meditation, every single session.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because I think some people out there listening to this might be saying, "Hey, she's checking off every box in my life,
Yeah.
but I've like never done this before. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's kind of I don't know if I can do it." So I guess I mean my point in all this, guys, ladies, if you're out there listening to this and you are resonating with what's being said here and you're considering taking the next step and taking that step forward, don't be afraid that you can't do it. Don't be held back or limit yourself by thinking, oh, that's not for me or whatever, because Tiffany can work with literally everybody out there, like she said, as long as you're open to it. And I actually think that this topic, Tiffany, is throughout the roundtable, we've had many different viewpoints and approaches to love and relationships. We're covering many different topics. But I really think that this is one of the harder ones. Just everybody gets all excited about, oh, new love, new love, new love. But it's the ones that you've been, slaving at for years or whatever and then you've got to sort of break that off. That's a very, very daunting task. Especially like we said, if there are kids involved or families or stuff like that, it's tremendously hard, folks. So I guess what we're trying to say here is if you need to reach out and you need help, don't feel like you're less of a person or anything for that, because honestly, you're doing yourself, and if you have kids and your family, you're probably doing them a favor by reaching out and saying, hey, I could use a little extra here. So, yeah. So anywho, Tiffany, we've got a few minutes left. We've got about 4 minutes or so. Is there anything that maybe we didn't get a chance to cover? And remember, guys, we're going to have a live question and answer for the audience, so you can ask your questions to Tiffany. But just really quickly, is there anything that maybe we didn't hit on today that you would like to impart to those listening, or even if we didn't miss anything, is there anything else you want to share with us?
Yeah, I would like to say that to not be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah.
Like if you're in a situation or a relationship, a marriage where you're not happy, don't be afraid to ask for help from friends, from family members. Don't be afraid to hire like a coach or a mentor or a healer to help you. If you sometimes that's the first step, is just like letting somebody else know what's going on, reaching out, and don't feel embarrassed. Don't feel ashamed. You don't want to judge yourself in a negative way. It's possible for any situation to get better or to get out of a bad situation, and anything is possible. So just, don't beat yourself up if you're there. I've been there, and I know, and I judge myself so harshly, but then I had to forgive myself and know that it was okay for me to reach out and get a mentor or help.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very well said. And I think that's a great way to kind of wrap this right now. But again, folks, don't forget we are doing the live Q&A. So I know that there's going to be some of you out there who have questions for Tiffany. You can join us at 2:15. That's Eastern time, EST, 2:15 Eastern time for the live Q&A. So be sure that you jump back with us for that. We will be here. Tiffany's going to once again donate her time, and we'll try and answer as many questions as we can within the allotted time. So so yeah, we're gonna go ahead and wrap for right now. Still lots to do. So Tiffany, thank you so much for sharing with us this hour about letting go and toxic relationships and such, and giving us the tips that and really a great roadmap, I think, to being able to move forward for the folks out there that may need it. So thank you so very much. And we'll see you really soon on the Q&A. So
thank you.
All right. Take care. We'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye now.